All right, everyone. So, for the last couple of weeks, we've been laying some pretty serious groundwork, right? We've moved from this core idea of motor intentionality into the concept of skillful coping. Today, we're going to build directly on that. We're going to explore this really elegant, almost silent logic that guides our every action, what Merleau-Ponty calls the body's inherent drive for equilibrium. So that leaves us with this central puzzle. I mean, if we've thrown out the old intellectualist model, the idea of a mind sending commands based on some mental blueprint, then what's the organizing principle? What is it that guides the body's incredibly skillful and fluid way of being in the world? That's the core question we need to tackle today.
Okay, so before we dive into the new material, let's just take a moment to anchor ourselves in the concepts we've already got a handle on. A quick recap is going to be essential here because everything we talk about today builds directly on what came before.
As you'll recall, the critical shift we've made is getting away from this very traditional, dualistic model. We've moved past seeing the body as just a machine that the mind operates. Instead, we've really tried to embrace Merleau-Ponty's view. The body as an active subject, where a whole existence is grounded not in a cognitive I think, but in this fundamental bodily I can.
And this I can is powered by what Merleau-Ponty calls practognosia. It's this practical, almost pre-reflective understanding. Remember our example of just reaching for a coffee mug? Your hand is already ready for its shape, its weight, without you having to consciously calculate anything. This idea, this skillful coping without a mental representation, is really our jumping off point for today.
So, with that in mind, let's introduce the core mechanism that actually powers all of this skillful coping. It's a concept that is absolutely central to Merleau-Ponty's entire project, and he calls it the tendency toward maximal grip. So what does he mean by this? Well, maximal grip is the body's inherent, constant, and importantly, unthinking drive to find a kind of optimal balance with its environment. It's this continuous process of adjusting itself toward a state of maximum clarity and effectiveness. It's always seeking equilibrium. This quote here, I think, really gets to the heart of the experience. I mean, think about walking through an art gallery. You don't take out a measuring tape to figure out the perfect distance to view a painting. Your body just knows. It moves you a little closer, maybe a step back, until the image just resolves, until it feels right. That unthinking bodily adjustment is the search for maximal grip.
And when we find that optimal state, that sweet spot, Merleau-Ponty has this great phrase. He says our body is geared onto the world. It's this state of harmony where our perception is sharp and the world just responds to our bodily intentions exactly as they anticipate. It becomes a seamless dialogue. But let's look at a more dynamic example to see how this really plays out.
So how does this constant striving for maximal grip unfold in a situation that's more complex, more fast-moving? The art gallery is one thing, but what about something like sports? For an expert football player, the field isn't just a grid of coordinates. It's this dynamic field of tensions. It's alive with what Merleau-Ponty calls lines of force. The openings you see between opponents aren't just empty spaces. They're invitations. They literally call for a certain kind of movement. The player feels the direction of the goal as immediately as they feel their own arms and legs. And this illustrates this dynamic feedback loop perfectly. The situation, the milieu as he calls it, solicits an action from the player. The player's move then answers that call, but in doing so it transforms the entire field of play. And this new arrangement immediately solicits the next action. It's this constant, flowing dialectic between the body and its world.
Okay, so this brings us to a really crucial and maybe a more personal question. We've been talking about what the body does, but what does this striving for maximal grip actually feel like from the inside? This brings us to the concept of bodily normativity. It's the lived, qualitative experience of seeking that maximal grip. You can think of it as a built-in, precognitive standard for what feels correct or incorrect in any given situation. It's a norm that's established by the body itself long before any intellectual judgment comes into play. And we experience this constantly. It's so fundamental that we barely even notice it. When the words on the board are blurry, you just squint. When a voice is muffled, you lean in. When you're trying to figure out the true color of a sweater in a dim store, you instinctively hold it up to the light. Every one of these small, unthinking adjustments is your body seeking a better, clearer grip on the world. So the crucial mechanism here is this felt sense of tension, that slight discomfort of not seeing clearly or not hearing properly or feeling just a bit off balance.
That tension is the engine. It's what motivates the body to self-correct, to move toward an action that relieves that disequilibrium and restores that sense of rightness, all without a single conscious thought about the goal. Okay, let's try to synthesize these ideas now, maximal grip and bodily normativity, to get to what is really a quite radical conclusion that Merleau-Ponty draws about the nature of skilled action. This is often where the paradigm shift feels the most dramatic. I think this quote is just a beautiful summary of the entire idea. The body isn't some passive object to be analyzed and commanded by the intellect. It is an active, self-regulating system of lived-through meanings, and it's always moving toward balance with its world. And here it is. This is the crucial takeaway, and it can be a tricky one to really internalize because it runs so counter to how we normally think. Our actions have direction, they have an aim, they are purposive. But, and this is the key, this aim is not a goal represented in the mind. The purpose is immanent. It exists within the body-world relationship itself, found in that felt tension and its resolution.
So ultimately then, skillful action isn't a matter of the mind imposing some grand plan. It's a fluid and responsive dialogue. It's a dance, really, where the body allows itself to be solicited by the world, responding to the world's calls without ever needing to translate them into the language of thought first.
So I'll leave you with this question to carry into our next discussion. If mastery is not about internalizing a set of abstract rules for the mind to follow, but is instead about refining the body's ability to achieve this maximal grip, well, what does that imply about how we should teach, how we should practice, and ultimately, what does it even mean to be an expert?